I write most of my sermons based on lectionary lessons, and I wrote this sermon quite a while ago before I knew today would be a Recognition Sunday, but I love that it turned out to be a choice for world peace, which I think is good, not just for graduates, but for all of us to consider. And as we continue to try and adjust the service back to normal, I thought I'd warn you that in the weeks ahead I'd kind of reintroduce humor back into the sermon on purpose as we adjust the timing. And it shouldn't surprise most of you that a good portion of the humor will include puns. I've already had some folks urge me to do impressions instead, which is fine, but the only impression I really do well is John Wayne singing Christmas carols, so that's not the wait. Today's message is about peace. Most peace puns we've probably already heard, like what did the scientists get, which put green legumes in centrifuge, world peace. Last night, Nancy helped me find a new one. When I asked if I could have a little piece of quiet as I cooked dinner, she removed the battery for the smoke detector. Just be happy to tell a joke where I asked if you had a choice between world peace or Jeff Bezos' money, what color would your Lamborghini be? And actually, that last joke, I snuck in. It's not really a pun. It helps us segue into the lesson, which refers to peace. Peace Jesus left and gave and gives to us still. That peace is a way to God's shalom, God's peace, which means well-being for all, everyone. My Westminster Dictionary of Theological Terms defines that peace as more than the lack of war. It points to full societal and personal well-being coupled with righteousness and possible only as a gift of God. In the Gospel of John that Megan read so well from, Jesus is considered from chapter 1 onward as the very incarnation of God in creation from day 1 on. So this peace for all, shalom, is the gift Jesus gives. It's what he left us all, a treasure to peace on earth, goodwill to all. Jesus' teachings indicate that the way to that peace, God's peace, is providing love, desiring and working toward well-being, and providing justice, giving that which is due, which is well-being. To put it another way, God's peace requires heavenly choices by humans to love and to end injustices. These are critical choices, as I said, not just for grads, but for all of us. You can choose to act toward world peace or not. Two extreme examples of choosing not to are Jeff Bezos' money choices, in my opinion, and certainly President Putin's power choices. The heart of the Bezos joke is a strong cultural push to choose the world's way of idolizing power and money and objects like fancy cars over idolizing God, whose way is world peace. Every time we choose personal prosperity or power over world peace, we reject the peace Jesus left and gave us and gives to us. It's easy to tell because Jesus' peace is not of this world. Jeff Bezos' money is of this world. Vladimir Putin's power is of this world. Obviously, the chances of getting to literally choose between instant world peace and instant billions of dollars of power to rule a nation is not very likely to come our way. But over the course of our lifetimes, we do get to choose between the peace and goodwill for all that Jesus offers and the paths primarily for self alone which the world offers. The gospel stories are about choices between God's way that Jesus chooses and takes and teaches and leaves behind, and Caesar's way that Herod and Pilate and Judas and sinners choose and take. One of those ways leads to more of heaven breaking into the world. The other leads to more and more of the world breaking. God versus Caesar. Jesus' way versus worldly ways. And clearly in our culture, you can take the worldly way and be looked up to and admired and legitimized. But the worldly way does not give the peace that Jesus does, because the worldly way is not about peace that provides well-being to all. It's about well-being for self or tribe. While love, the desire for the well-being of others, takes a back seat. Justice, providing what is due, is put off for all but you. And so peace takes a back seat too. Heaven doesn't break in, taking Caesar's route. Jeff Bezos is an example. He has a hoard of wealth in the neighborhood of $200 billion. That's so much wealth, he can choose to use it for all manner of heavenly purposes on a massive scale. He does not have to, but he could. To use Jesus' example in Matthew 25, he could choose to empty a large percentage of his coffers to tend to Christ in the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the sick, strangers, imprisoned, and other least among us. If we did that, more of heaven would break in. Peace would be closer to, because so many more would have well-being. Of course, Jeff Bezos, acting toward their well-being, coupled righteousness with it. Righteousness is doing what's right and maintaining right relationships, all of which Mr. Bezos would be doing with the Christ within all those. He'd help. It's not criminal for Mr. Bezos to choose to do as he does with his money. It's also not heavenly or peaceful. The President Putin is a worse example. While it is criminal to a lot of us for him to do as he's been doing, warring in Ukraine, in his country, it's legal. And some in our country even think it's legal. President Putin is a modern example of someone acting like Caesar. He has hordes of power that he uses for himself and his tribe to the exclusion and detriment of so many. He has used it to intentionally cause terrible and unspeakable things to the people of Ukraine and Russia. He has so much power. He can use it for all manner of heavenly purposes on a massive scale. To use Jesus' example again in Matthew 25, instead of warring or hoarding or ignoring, he can choose to tend to the Christ in the hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the sick, strangers, imprisoned, and other least among us. If Mr. Putin did that, more of heaven would break in, and peace would be closer to, because so many more would have well-being. Of course, President Putin acting toward their well-being with a couple righteousness with it. Righteousness is doing what's right, maintaining right relationships, all of which President Putin would be doing with the Christ within all of those that he helps. And I've given two extreme examples of modern men in news behaving of this world with choices that the world allows them to make. Even as I speak, they make those worldly choices, power and money choices that help themselves and their tribe above all others and hurt others in the world, or let them be hurt. If we were in their shoes, what color of Lamborghini or chateau or yacht or rocket or missile would we choose? Or would we choose something not of this world, but of heaven? And so tend to Christ in the hungry, thirsty, naked, sick, stranger, imprisoned, and other least among us. That's the gist of the question asked over and over and over again in the Gospels. One leads to the peace of Christ, one does not. And that's the question asked of people like us, like Jesus. Jesus wasn't teaching or preaching to the likes of Jeff Bezos or Vladimir Putin's of the world, the Caesar-like people of his day or our day. Caesars have a proven track record of not listening to holy teachings or following paths toward world peace. They follow the ways of the world, not the ways of God. It gets them what they want, not what God wants. Jesus was teaching And he was preaching to the non-Caesars, the vast majority of folks, the Jews and the me's of this world. And Jesus was, and still is, trying to get us to not idolize and aim to be like the Caesars, the Putins, the Bezos of this world. Indeed, he taught us and showed us to do more than not idolize. He was, and he still is, trying to get us to idolize God and aim to be like God incarnate, Christ, in ways that we use what power and wealth we have and resources we have from God for peace on earth, goodwill to all. It's not to be used for peace on earth, goodwill to only us and ours. It's not to be hoarded, ignoring others' needs. That's Caesar's way. That's the way of this world. It's supposed to be peace on earth, goodwill to all. That's literally Jesus' way. It's not the way of the world. Jesus doesn't give as the world gives. And we aren't supposed to either. Material wealth is not supposed to be our goal. The wealth of well-being for all, peace, is supposed to be our goal. Doing for us and ours alone is not the means. Doing for others what we want done for ourselves is the means. And it's called the golden rule because it's a sign of heavenly riches here on earth. Jesus' way doesn't involve hoarding. It involves generous giving. Jesus' way doesn't involve oppression or injustices or unloving conduct of any kind, nor does it involve ignoring such conduct. Jesus' way requires action. Love in action. It's about justice being sought and kindness being loved on our humble walks with God. That way that Jesus left us gives us peace. Peace that is not of this world. May we all work toward it and seek it every day of our lives. May our choices be